All right. Hi, my name is Najee Chambers of Big Go Belt Media. It's a pleasure to talk to you two today. How you doing?
Doing
Good.
great. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I want to start at the beginning here, because in all due respect, this is one of those type of things, and I think that's kind of what the audiences and fans and just consumer of television is looking for today. Is that kind of like, I didn't ask for this, but like now that it's here, this is intriguing. This is like mind blowing. And I checked out the first four episodes, and I have so many questions, so little time, but I just want to know, how did this all come about? How did you all know that there was, I ain't gonna say this was the story because there's many stories within this, but how did you know this was the time to get this done and get this to get released?
Well, Olivia Christ brought us the story. And when she explained it to us, we were blown away. And especially as we started all diving into it even deeper and realizing that it went beyond just like this one, okay, this wacky, TV family to this weird kind of cult to like, oh my God, this is like this explains so much about what's going on in our country and now in our world today. It was mind-blowing. We felt there were times where we would look at each other and just be like, how far does this thing go? Like this, it felt huge. And I think that's the big surprise of this thing, is how big it is.
Yeah, yeah. How about you, Blye? Anything you want to add to that?
No, it's the same. I mean, I personally had not, I was not really familiar with the Duggars. I mean, I knew who they were, but I had not really gone down the rabbit hole and watched their shows. I mean, I had seen their covers on magazines and that kind of stuff. And so for me, they're the entry point. And once it was like, but what is behind the curtain, that just blew my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, you're entirely right. And I think like the hot word here is going to be the rabbit hole, because I can even almost say like the title doesn't really suffice, but you're right. And you mentioned it, like this is the entry point, but then once you get started, it's just so many twists and turns, so much knowledge, and then the exposure to so many things I had no clue about. And I mean, like, I've learned so much from like the radical Christian community, the fundamentalists, obviously the Duggar family here, and then Joshua generation, then all the acronyms in the world. And I'm just kind of just like, this is a lot. I guess my next question for you all is, what is one of the big factors that you want the audiences to take from this, as you're just, again, getting thrown a lot of information at you?
So I think one of the things too that's so interesting is to think about what is our kind of responsibility as viewers and consumers of this kind of entertainment. Obviously everyone doesn't have a gazillion hours in the day to go down and do their own investigative reporting on something, but when things don't really, it feels like they're not totally adding up. I mean, I think it's one of those where we all have to just critically look at ourselves, and especially, what is our responsibility? And then once you start to, when truth starts to come out in pieces, it's like, again, like, what do we do with that? And I think, and also too, like media companies and all of us, like what is our role? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, this organization and its ideology ends up touching all of us, which is mind blowing. So I think it's a really big question with a lot to unpack.
Yeah, yeah. Corey, anything you want to add on that?
I would completely agree. I think that for me, it's often like when it seems like these kind of crazy things come out of the blue, where did this come from? Instead of being like, well, I don't know, that's kind of weird, it just must have happened. Like, no, there's a dig into, how did this happen? Where did this come from? I mean, I think we're seeing these like big changes in our country, and we're just like, wait a minute, and there's something behind it. Like, dig in, figure out what is going on behind it. That's what I feel like for me. Like, I will never look at, I think these like the trad wives movement, where there are women on social media being like, I'm just here to submit to my husband. And I'll be like, what did they just think of that one day? No, they were raised in that ideology, or they came upon it. But like, there's a plan behind a lot. I don't want to go be a big conspiracy theorist, but man, if you're ever going to like become a conspiracy theorist, it's like watching a show like this, where you're like, wow, there is like, people have been working hard behind the scenes for years at this stuff, while a lot of us have just been, living our lives and trying to get by, and other people are like, they're busy out there.
That is the truth here. And I guess, almost for lack of better words here, is this almost like the cause and effect of reality TV? I mean, this is what I would call and consider first generation reality TV, 19 and count. I remember the show years ago now, obviously tons of seasons it had, but now we're starting to see a lot of these once very popular reality shows now being exposed for the corruption and all sorts of just heinous things behind it. But is this sort of just the nature of what reality show is? And is it breeding sort of a virus going forward?
Well, I think it's hard to speak, general, to overgeneralize, right? It's easy to do that. But I do think, sure, listen, anytime that you've got some, reality show on TV where you're presenting people at the extremes, right? Oftentimes there is a larger story there, whatever it may be. People who are living quiet, peaceful, average lives without much drama, they don't make good television. So I don't know. I think it's something that we all have to be a little bit cognizant of like what we're dialing into and what we're promoting. And the more extreme and the more crazy, it seems like maybe there's a larger story there that we should all be a little bit more cognizant of.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, and I think, all jokes aside, the very important thing, and I commend you to as filmmakers to getting this done, is giving a platform to the survivors here, which I thought was a really beautiful thing. And, the support that you all have put around it, because you can see the comfortability in each of their scenes. Was there moments off camera that you all may have collectively shared or discussed in order for them preparing to now take this next step to further put their story out publicly?
We spent, a lot of time. I think, different people developed, relationships with different survivors. Olivia was one of our directors, was really close with a lot of these people. I formed a lot of very close relationships, because they're, we don't want to mirror what happened with the reality show, right? Like we're trying to do something different here, but at the same time, we are asking these people to talk about their deep pain in a very public format. Like, Prime Video is global and they're telling their story in a global way. And in this social media age, there's going to be a few sentences pulled out and turned into a meme, and so it's like, I think it was really intense. And I'll just speak for myself, my relationship with one of the subjects, like I consider, this person a very close personal friend now, because they did, share what they were going through. And I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian household too. I wasn't IBLP, but our church took a sudden turn to the right, man. It just like, where did this come from? And now I know it's because this teaching, just because I didn't go to IBLP trainings didn't mean this stuff didn't come into my church,
Mm-hmm.
And one of our subjects said to me, it's like, that's what happened to our church. Like it's like, you kind of go to the most pious, right? The person who's like, well, I'm doing this and this is what God wants. Like that kind of became the standard for everybody. And so for me, like I uncovered parts of myself in like getting close to these subjects and realizing like, wow, this really did. I mean, now it's affecting everybody on the political level and on the social and culture war level. But yeah, I think for a lot of these subjects, it was, they taught me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And Blye, anything you want to add to that statement as well too?
No, I think that the biggest things that the survivors really, how vulnerable they were and how really so personal some of their pain and their stories were, and that they put it out there for us. And I think that by doing that, they're just going to encourage, that will encourage more people to come forward and tell their stories. Once you have a community out there, that that you're not alone, that your experience is not, just yours, that it is shared by many others, and that they will catch you. I think the more people are emboldened to come forward, and I think that's really important. And I hope our survivors, I mean, I understand that, know that, and that they've done a really service to these others.
Absolutely, well said, and I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that again, you two opening up the platform in order for them to have an opportunity to do so. Again, the comfortability is clearly depicted in their face, speaks a lot about what you all are doing. And again, this is a way positive to really right a lot of the wrongs that we had in the past. And hopefully, as you said, it brings forward more to do the same. So, but anyway, folks got to check this one out. Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets, and a lot more, I should add, or should I add plus at the end of it? Coming to
That would be great.
Absolutely love the plus. Yep.
Yeah.
Cori and Blye, it's a pleasure to talk to you two today, and congratulations on the success of this thus far.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Great interview. Thank you.
Thank you.